Devastated battlefield is viewed, where countless bodies are scattered across the rocky cliffs, while someone stands overlooking this horrific scene. In the midst of this chaos, three master fighters gather: Abbot Hyun Jin Chun of the Shaolin, Mount Hua sect leader Zhang Guang, and Namgung clan head Huang. They notice that their opponent is completely exhausted and realize this is their golden opportunity to eliminate him. This opponent, with long dark hair and glowing red eyes, turns to them and coldly tells them that only they remain. The three leaders prepare to face him, and Hyun Jin Chun shouts, calling the others to prepare for battle. The red-eyed opponent charges fiercely towards them. Hyun Jin Chun manages to block the opponent's attack but is pushed back by the force of the impact, which enrages the abbot Hyun Jin Chun, who calls him a damned heavenly demon, and unleashes the 1,000 Buddha palm technique. But the heavenly demon skillfully avoids the attack, declaring that he will kill him first. Hyun Jin Chun pleaded with his comrades, telling them to stop watching and help him at once. Guang and Huang rushed to their companion's aid, while he fought desperately, defending himself against the heavenly demon's attacks. They unleash their own attacks. One uses the Plum Blossom Flash, and the other, the 10,000 Thunders return to one, and they charge towards him with the intent to kill. They manage to inflict serious wounds on the heavenly demon. The abbot appears from behind the heavenly demon and launches another attack, wishing his opponent peace in his next life. But the heavenly demon skillfully dodges the attack and delivers a fatal blow, using his demonic energy to rip his spine out of his body. The abbot fell, a lifeless corpse, amidst the shock of his comrades who were frozen in place. The heavenly demon, Zhong Cheon, stands victorious, holding the abbot's head, announcing his death and that it's time for the next one. The remaining opponents call him a monster. The heavenly demon lunged at them, but Huang skillfully used his special move to retreat quickly, then ordered his companion to get away as well. The heavenly demon pounced on Guang, who tried to block his attack. It is revealed that this fighter is the heavenly demon, Zhong Cheon, the man who drowned the Central Plains in blood. To face his martial prowess, unmatched under the heavens, all the elite masters of the 9 great sects gathered. But this alliance was pushed to the brink of destruction. In another scene from the battle, the heavenly demon mocks Guang, asking him if he has already chosen his grave, then clarifies with a sneer that he meant his opponent's grave, not his own. In the heat of battle, Guang unleashes his technique called Rain of 10,000 Flowers. Despite the intensity of the situation, the heavenly demon is shown gripping his sword with an internal insistence that it's not over yet, and a fleeting memory of a peaceful moment under a flowering tree flashes through his mind. The heavenly demon assures himself that he cannot die now, and summons the 5th form of the demonic spirit sword, launching a devastating attack known as the Black Demon Dragon's Strike. The attack fatally wounds Guang, who falls dead after a final scream. At the moment of his death, Huang ambushes the heavenly demon with his own attack, called Transcendent Supremacy, which surrounds the heavenly demon with a web of sharp, successive strikes. The heavenly demon admits the attack was painful, calling Huang a rat, but mocks him by saying the blow was nothing more than a tickle, which stuns Huang. The heavenly demon retaliates with a fierce counterattack that severs Huang's fingers and cuts his face, making Huang scream in agony. In his final moments, Huang unleashes his fury upon Zhong Cheon, cursing him and calling him a dog of the demonic cult. Huang decided to use his superior speed, moving nimbly from one position to another to confuse the heavenly demon, then launches his last desperate attack after appearing behind the heavenly demon, shouting at the top of his lungs for the heavenly demon to just die already, declaring that his cursed life will end here after stabbing him in the back with his sword. In that crucial moment, a vision of a woman and 2 children holding lanterns becomes clear in Zhong Cheon's mind, and he mutters that everything is clear now and it's time to end this. The heavenly demon shouted, repeating his words, announcing loudly that the end had come and that this endless feud would now be over. The heavenly demon plunged his sword into his own chest. The sword pierced through the heavenly demon's body and out the other side, lodging in Huang's chest. Although Huang had pierced his heart, the heavenly demon remained standing. The heavenly demon turns and beheads Huang. Huang wonders in terror how his opponent can still be alive after such a fatal wound, and realizes he has truly surpassed human limits. In his last breath, Huang whispers a horrific realization that this being is not just a demon, but the divine demon. And with that, Namgung Huang also meets his end. After annihilating the 9 great sects with his own hands, the heavenly demon Zhong Cheon lay dying amidst the desolate battlefield. In his last breaths, he whispered the names Yunhua, Seok, and Yonga, wondering if this revenge was enough. His spirit drifts to the past, where he recalls the beginning of his journey in a brawl he was skillfully fighting, while his opponents called him an arrogant bastard and questioned the source of his confidence. He remembers seeing his young master's face again, realizing this was the starting point of his path. His life before that was just petty fights for survival, and constant wandering with his single sword. He had to kill to see the next day's sun, in an endless cycle of empty massacres, making him question the meaning of this fleeting existence. Then he met Yunhua, who told him she understood his suffering, comparing it to her daily squabbles at the market, her struggles at work, and caring for her younger siblings who were a nightmare for her. But she admitted they were the sweetest part of her life, and they became her reason to live after she lost her parents and almost gave up. Then she suggested that he try to find his own reason to live. He sheds tears as he remembers his desire to live alongside them. They, who gave him, who only knew killing, a reason for life. But after losing them, he took up his sword again for revenge. He describes his life as one without roots, drifting from place to place. The heavenly demon asked in a bitter challenge what meaning could exist in such an existence. In his final moments, he realized that the meaning he had long searched for was with them all along. It is told that for 15 years he walked a lonely path of bloodshed. His blade grew dull and countless scars covered his body. Finally, he achieved his revenge after sacrificing everything he had. As he stared at his last sunrise, the sword slipped from his hand, and here lies the divine demon, Zhong Cheon. Suddenly, his consciousness awakens to a loud noise, making him wonder if he has ended up in hell. He hears a woman suggesting that her son inherit the secret arts of the Yunhua clan, because the rightful heir, her older brother, can no longer practice martial arts due to an unfortunate accident. Zhong Cheon realizes he's not in hell and wonders what is really happening. A young boy stands up to object fiercely, insisting that his older brother is still alive and well, and that the main family arts cannot be passed outside their lineage. Another girl adds that their grandfather's arts belong to the Yunhua clan alone, even if her brother cannot train, and that the woman is not even from the mother's lineage. Zhong Cheon looks at the children with his glowing eye, completely bewildered by this strange situation. After realizing he is in someone else's body, Zhong Cheon smiles sardonically, while the man in front of him declares that at this rate they will not reach an agreement and decides to make a suggestion. The man, having heard of the siblings' poverty to the point where they barely have enough to eat, suggests betting with money, while Hua Mujin, the body inhabited by Zhong Cheon, bets all the secret arts of the Yunhua clan in a duel, with the winner taking all. He then asks for their opinion on this offer. The young boy immediately objects, wondering how they can accept this challenge when his brother hasn't even been able to start training due to his madness, and the girl sees it as a clear trick, even for a child. Zhong Cheon feels bored by this argument and asks the two children who Hua Mujun is, then confidently declares that he is the divine demon, Zhong Cheon, leaving the two children baffled. The woman receives his declaration with sarcasm, asking him his identity again. He repeats that he is Zhong Cheon, whom the world calls the divine demon. The second son of the Cheonghua merchant guild, Zhong Debo, laughs at this claim, considering it no longer funny, and sarcastically suggests he claimed to be King Yama himself. Meanwhile, the two children notice their brother's condition is worsening. The woman stepped forward and said that the madness fits he suffers from, a state of mental disorder accompanied by screaming fits and violent outbursts, are getting worse. The head of the Cheonghua merchant guild, Bu Choyon, remarks that the fate of the Yunhua family is already sealed with the eldest son in this state, and tells the children she is saying this because of their blood ties and that it wouldn't be bad for them either. Bu Choyon declares there is no need for more words, and considers their silence as agreement to the duel. She sets the duel for the 5th day of the next month at the Flying Shadow Pavilion. Zhong Daibo confirms it is a promise between warriors, and warns the divine demon Zhong Cheon of the consequences of breaking this agreement before they leave. After they leave, the little girl worriedly asks what they will do, reminding her brother that he has never swung a sword properly before. Zhong Cheon hears her and asks if she is talking about him. Zhong Cheon finds the idea that he has never swung a sword before highly amusing and tries to gather his internal energy all at once, only to discover with a shock that it's completely non-existent. His horror grows when he realizes this new body is extremely weak, with fragile muscles and bones that can't even hold a sword. In a state of denial, the little girl screams at him to stop. The little girl approaches him and begs him to come to his senses, even if he is in a mad state, considering that no sane person would stand still holding that thing. Her brother calls her a fool for her words and tells her to apologize immediately for insulting her older brother, but she refuses to cry, and shouts as she runs away that their parents died because of him. Zhong Cheon watches the girl as she runs off, and the boy tells him that his sister often acts like this and asks him to understand her, then excuses himself and leaves as well. Left alone, Zhong Cheon is puzzled by the children's treatment of him as a madman and finds the whole situation very strange. He clearly remembers beheading the leader of the Namgung clan, and still feels the suffocation he felt when the sword pierced his heart. He had completed his revenge for Yunhua and her siblings, and he was supposed to close his eyes in peace then, but now he finds himself in this new body and wonders how this bizarre transformation happened. In the midst of his confusion, he wonders how he came back to life in this body. wonders about the identity of the two children who resemble Seok and Yonga, and rejects the idea of being mad, calling it nonsense. Suddenly a man runs towards him calling him young master and scolds him for going out in such a frail body. The man, named Masuk, expresses how worried he was about him. Jong Cheon asks him who he is, noting that he seems to know him well. Masuk thinks it's another fit of madness and explains that he is a servant of the Manhwa family. Masuk reminds him that previously, due to his great martial talent and wisdom, countless sects wanted to take him as their disciple. He then explains that he is Hua Mugeon, the 23-year-old heir of the Manhwa family, and this is the 6,205th time he has explained this to him. Jong Cheon doubts his words, wondering how he could be so magnificent while his internal energy, Dantian, is in this pathetic state, and why everyone treats him like a madman. Masuk hesitates before telling him that it all started 17 years ago, in a scene from the past, in a fair and square duel without the use of internal force. Hua Mujin appears at the age of 6, challenging the 9-year-old Cheong Debo. Debo scoffs at his request but agrees. Masuk tells him he doesn't know who requested the challenge first, and the boys fight in the absence of adults. During the fierce fight, Hua Mujin admires Debo's ability to block all his attacks, and wonders if this is the talent the righteous sects coveted. Cheong Daibo repeated the rules of the duel mockingly, a fair and just fight with bare hands. Mujin then became confused, asking, "What are you suddenly talking about?" Suddenly Daibo calls him a foolish brat and uses his internal force in his attack, knocking Hua Mujin to the ground. Hua Mujin asks his rival, who he still calls brother, why he is using the 7-wound fist when they had agreed not to use internal force. Daibo scoffs at him for still calling him brother in this situation, and tells him that this is indeed the 7-wound fist of the Gongdong sect, and its after effects are known to be no joke. Daibo continues his boastful talk, telling Hua Mujin that he has been trying out the 7-wound fist recently, and just last week he hit one of his fellow disciples with it because he was arrogant, and that disciple is still on the verge of death even now. He then asks Hua Mujin how he is doing and continues to punch him using his internal energy. Jong Cheon finally understands why he is treated like a madman, and finds it logical if these are the after effects of the 7-wound fist. He thinks angrily that Daibo destroyed his internal energy, Dantian, and left him insane, yet he shamelessly challenged him to a duel to bet the entire legacy of the Manhwa family. Jong Cheon asks the servant Masuk how that scoundrel was dealt with at the time, and Masuk replies that the decision was up to the former clan head, Hua Mujin's father. Masuk explains that Daibo was not only the former clan head's nephew but also the young master of the Chonghua Merchant Guild, a guild ranked among the top 10 in the Central Plains. For this reason, Daibo received only a minor scolding and the case was closed. Jong Cheon is disgusted by the idea that the father merely scolded the one who caused his son's disability, and describes the family as pathetic. He then asks about the fate of those parents. Masuk tells him that Hua Mujin's madness was getting worse day by day, and his father had incurred massive debts trying to cure him. 9 years ago, the lady's illness worsened and she passed away. 3 years later, the clan head also died, burdened by debt. Jong Cheon recalled what people were saying after his parents' death, whispering behind his back that these parents had raised an ill-bred son, suffering because of him until they died. Considering that Hua Mujin was like a child who had devoured his parents, leaving behind only his pitiful younger siblings, and that the reputation of the Manhwa family was finished. Masuk concludes his story that nothing is left of the Manhwa family but the debts accumulated to treat Hua Mujin, 2 servants, about a dozen warriors, and finally, his 2 younger siblings, Hua Dojin and Hua Soyeon. Here, Jong Cheon understands why the little girl was angry and accused her brother of causing their parents' deaths. One illness had destroyed the entire family. Jong Cheon puts all the pieces together, benefiting from what he read in the history books in Hua Mujin's room. He confirms that he, the divine demon Jong Cheon, did indeed die after his battle against the 9 great sects, and that 30 years have passed since then. His sense of touch proves this is reality, and he concludes that he has been reincarnated into the body of the eldest son of the Manhwa family, Hua Mujin, an insane man with no internal energy. Since everyone he had to kill was already dead, he had no feelings of regret or attachment to his past life. He sees drawings from his younger siblings wishing him a speedy recovery, and finds their fate pitiful, reminding him of the other children in his past life. He decides that since he must live in this body, he will help these 2 children, even if just a little. Jong Cheon determines that the biggest obstacle before him is the Cheonghua Merchant Guild, as they are the ones who left this body in its miserable state. His first goal is to prepare for the duel against Cheong Daibo, and he must at least reach the beginner stage in martial arts before then. Jong Cheon contemplates his new situation, realizing he must start everything from scratch, which reminds him of his first beginnings in learning martial arts, when even breathing was a difficult task. He begins by trying to gather energy, thinking that thanks to the innate talent of the body's original owner, he doesn't even need the process of sensing energy, just closing his eyes was enough. As the energy concentrates in his body, he suddenly collapses unconscious. Two of the family's elders and Masuk rush to him, wondering what is happening to him. After one of them checks him, he shouts that the young master Hua has finally died. But he checks his pulse again to find that not only is he alive, but his pulse has become healthier than before, which displeases him, and he wonders why his health has improved. When Zhong Cheon regains consciousness, he asks the old man about the secret of this body, explaining that the pain was unbearable when he tried to form his internal energy, Dantian. One of them tells him that his body has a special constitution. He heard from a great monk in Shaolin that it is called the pure heavenly martial body. Zhong Cheon receives this name with astonishment, and the elder continues, explaining that it is a rare heroic body chosen by the heavens to walk the righteous path, which makes the elder laugh and angers Zhong Cheon. Zhong Cheon explains the problem, which is that this physical constitution is completely at odds with demonic arts. If a body born with pure righteous energy tries to learn demonic arts, it will suffer extreme pain and may die. Zhong Cheon despairs, thinking of other types of divine bodies, wondering why, of all the bodies the heavens grant, he had to get this particular one. He realizes he is in real trouble, as the duel is only 2 months away. Later he asks his servant Masuk about the identity of these two old men, and he is told they are the head of the Yumhua family, Du Bexin, and elder Zhou Huanbong. Zhong Cheon remembers their facial expressions when he collapsed, how they were talking about his condition worsening and that they should prepare for the worst. He realizes their ill intentions, and swears to himself that he will not die. After the incident, Masuk tells him that he was bedridden for 3 whole days. Zhong Cheon is shocked by the length of his blackout and thinks this cursed body will kill him before he even gets to the duel. He tells Masuk to be quiet because his voice is giving him a headache, and tells him he will need a sword for the duel, and orders him to go immediately and have some swords made for him. Masuk seems confused and explains that they have to worry about their next meal, so where will they get the money to buy swords? Zhong Cheon is surprised that the family has no money at all. Masuk explains that they are currently borrowing money from an unorthodox sect called Bango's Room, and because of the exorbitant interest rates, they are drowning in massive debt. Zhong Cheon concludes that this is indeed a fallen clan, and he must solve the money problem first. Then an idea comes to him, and he asks Masuk pretentiously, since they are already drowning in debt, what's the harm in adding more? The servant Masuk shows his shock at the idea of borrowing more money, but Zhong Cheon ignores him and orders him to write a letter to the two elders, telling them he is going for a short outing. When the letter arrives, Du Bexin is angry that the young master Hua is going to Bango's room again, while Zhou Huanbong dismisses the matter, believing they will simply turn him away at the door. But Du Bexin expresses his concern that provoking Bango's room might cause the social faction to make a move. Meanwhile, Zhong Cheon arrives with Masuk at Bango's room, the moneylender's headquarters. Zhong Cheon asks the guard to tell his leader that Hua Mujin of the Yumhua clan has come to see him. The guard, Kang Noho, rudely refuses his request, advising him to go gamble quietly before he makes him angry. Zhong Cheon insists on seeing the person in charge, which angers the guard, but Masuk quickly intervenes, trying to calm the situation by saying his young master is a little ill. Another man arrives asking about the commotion, and the guard tells him this fool wants to see the leader. Zhong Cheon realizes the new man is the one in charge. The man, identified as vice leader Ma Jungbo, asks why he wants to see the leader, and Zhong Cheon replies that he came to borrow more money. Upon hearing this, Ma Jungbo welcomes him as a customer, tells him there's no need to see the leader for this matter, and invites him inside. Once inside, Masuk begs Zhong Cheon to go back, expressing his bad feeling about this place. But Zhong Cheon refuses, pointing out that they've come all this way already. Masuk explains his fear, recounting a story he heard about one of the executioners of Bango's room, who killed a vagrant in the blink of an eye by splitting his chest open. He adds that this executioner is a master of the Black Hand Annihilation technique, but Zhong Cheon replies indifferently, asking, "So what?" Inside, Ma Jungbo tells them it's too late to go back now, and orders his men to begin. Hua Mujin reveals that this was their plan all along. Ma Jungbo explains that they couldn't have hit the eldest son of the Yumhua clan at the entrance in front of people's eyes. Ma Jungbo scoffs at Zhong Cheon, saying his family can't even pay the interest, let alone the principal, and that he has no intention of letting him drain him dry like his parents did. Masuk falls to his knees, begging them to forgive him for coming and to spare his young master's life. Zhong Cheon coldly replies to Ma Jungbo's taunt about his parents, saying he never had any parents. Hua Mujin is momentarily affected, thinking the situation reminds him of his days as Zhong Cheon, but he quickly dismisses the thought and orders his men to begin, telling Ma Jungbo to have his men discipline him a little. Kang Noho advances towards Zhong Cheon, calling him an arrogant brat and threatening to beat him, but he suddenly screams in pain before he can reach him. Zhang Cheon lunged with a swift move, wrapping his arms and legs around Zhang Cheon's arms, tightening his grip. Kang Noho screams in pain after Zhang Cheon breaks his arm, and calls Zhang Cheon a rat-like scoundrel who uses cheap tricks. Zhang Cheon mocks him, saying his bones are fragile for a man of his size, and thinks to himself that in this weak body, using such tactics is better than engaging in a direct power struggle for now. Ma Jungbo gets angry and asks his men what they are doing, ordering them to finish it quickly. The remaining men attack Zhang Cheon, who dodges them with superior skill, prompting one of them to call him a slippery eel. Zhang Cheon realizes he cannot win by force and that using a head movement is the best option. Although he gets a slight bruise, he manages to take down one of the attackers with a precise strike. He then quickly avoids the other warrior's attacks and kicks him hard, sending the warrior flying, who then falls heavily onto the other warrior. Masuk worriedly asks if his young master is okay, and Zhang Cheon calmly replies that he is perfectly fine. Masuk is amazed and asks him where he learned such martial arts. Zhang Cheon downplays his skills, claiming they aren't martial arts, just things his body learned naturally while living a harsh life on the streets. Masuk is puzzled by the idea that his master lived on the streets but admits that he's very good. Ma Jungbo decides to intervene, launching a powerful attack of purple energy, challenging Zhang Cheon to dodge this one too. Zhang Cheon dodges the attack and notices that the attack had a metal piece in it. Ma Jungbo addresses his remaining men, calling them pitiful fools, and orders them to leave as he will take over from here. Then Hua Mujin turns to Ma Jungbo and repeats his request to speak with their leader, asking if it's really that difficult. Ma Jungbo replies that the leader is not someone the likes of him can meet so simply, and orders him to get lost. When he attacks him with his large sword, Zhang Cheon blocks it with a pair of chopsticks, shocking Ma Jungbo. Zhang Cheon explains that he didn't have a sword, so he brought a substitute, noting that they are very useful. Zhang Cheon thinks that this martial art is as unfamiliar as he heard. Ma Jungbo finds an opening to attack. Zhang Cheon not only blocks the sword with the chopsticks but also uses the moment to advance and land a blow. Ma Jungbo calls him a damned rat for continuing to dodge his strikes, and Zhang Cheon warns him that if he underestimates the chopsticks, he will vomit blood. Zhang Cheon launches a swift attack, making Ma Jungbo scream in pain. Ma Jungbo wonders in disbelief how an insane man with no internal energy could suddenly reach this level of mastery, and doubts if this is the Hua Mujin he knows. Zhang Cheon delivers a final blow and explains that he heard his family was drowning in debt, so he was curious to see what kind of people their creditors were. After Zhang Cheon has Ma Jungbo under control, he mocks him, saying it's surprising how he managed to extort money from people with such pathetic skills. Ma Jungbo gets angry and decides to show him a taste of the martial arts he scorned, declaring that playtime is over. Zhang Cheon wonders when he scorned them. Then, Ma Jungbo uses his secret technique known as the Black Hand Annihilation Art of the Twin Celestial Moon Massacre. Zhang Cheon replies that they were the ones playing, not him. Zhang Cheon easily dodges the attack, shocking Ma Jungbo, who wonders why he was hiding this level of power all this time. After Zhang Cheon defeats him, Ma Jungbo warns him that he doesn't realize the consequences of his actions. Zhang Cheon ignores his threats, telling him he didn't come to listen to him, and that telling him what he wants to hear will help him live longer. He then calmly repeats his original request, asking if he could borrow more money. In another scene, Hua Mujin appears to be enjoying what's happening, commenting that it's been a long time since he's had this much fun. Ma Jungbo's men are tied up, while Masuk tries to stop Zhang Cheon from drinking something, warning him that it's dangerous for his health. Zhang Cheon begins to question Ma Jungbo, asking him why people like him, who cling to every coin, would support the Yumhua clan without any collateral. Zhang Cheon points out that there must be something corrupt behind it. Ma Jungbo denies any ill intent, but Zhang Cheon scoffs, saying he can hear his thoughts spinning in his head. Zhang Cheon then grabs a set of dice and threatens him, saying that if he swallows 30 of them, he won't be able to speak even if he wants to. Under threat, Ma Jungbo confesses that the Chonghua Merchant Guild was behind everything. Zhang Cheon is not surprised, calling them rats, and asks him about the nature of the deal they made. After Ma Jungbo hesitates, Zhang Cheon tells him he is no monk or warrior bound by honor, and that he should be loyal to his men, not the guild, because they won't care even if he's cut to pieces and the whole place burns down. Ma Jungbo breaks down and reveals the existence of a secret contract, where the Chonghua Guild asked them to lend the Yumhua clan any amount they wanted at the highest possible interest rate, with the aim of drowning them in unpayable debt. In return, they promised that once the clan collapsed, they would get its lands and a large reward. Zhang Cheon realizes the clan's land was the hidden collateral. He then asks about the value of the 300 nyang he's borrowing today after a year, and Ma Jungbo replies that it would reach about 5,000 nyang according to the contract. Zhang Cheon laughs, calls them a bunch of fools, and then proceeds with the paperwork. Finally, Jong Cheon asks about the identity of the backers of Bango's room. Ma Jungbo reveals that they are the Sosul faction, a group within the unorthodox alliance known as Samacheon. Jong Cheon mulls over the name Samacheon, describing them as filthy scum. When Masuk asks in surprise about his knowledge of Samacheon, Jong Cheon dismisses the question, saying that explaining would be a waste of time. Instead, he impatiently asks why the man with his money is late. After a few moments, a box full of money is brought, and the man presents it, saying it's 300 nyang. Jong Cheon inspects the gold coins with admiration and confirms that this amount will do. He tells Masuk to take the money and stop chattering so they can leave, while Masuk is still reluctant to accept the loan. As they are leaving, Jong Cheon tells the moneylenders to make sure the debt is clearly recorded in their ledgers. He then adds a threatening message, saying he will be back to repay every single coin after he settles things with their friends at the Chonghua Merchant Guild. He also notes that they are draining the common people dry and warns them that if they cross that line, their fate will be grim, which makes them agree fearfully. As he leaves, Ma Jungbo mutters curses, calling him a crazy young master and vowing that they will see who collapses first. Upon their return to the clan, Dubekson notices blood, to which Jong Cheon replies that it's not his. Dubekson is in shock about what happened at Bango's room, and Jong Cheon calmly replies that he just borrowed some money, nothing more. He explains that the clan's warriors need good food, and that they can't afford to lose any more of them. The elder asks him if he stole the money, since Bango's room would never lend him money, but Jong Cheon reaffirms that he asked them to record the debt in the books. He then orders the elder Zhou Huanbong that all he needs to worry about is feeding and clothing his siblings. The two elders watch Jong Cheon as he leaves, wondering if such madness truly exists in the world. Later, Jong Cheon stands before his parents' memorial altar and says that he never had parents, so he doesn't know the right words to console them. But he reassures them that their financial problems are mostly solved, and from now on, he will take care of his siblings and everyone in this house, and asks them to rest easy. He then talks about his upcoming duel against Cheong Daebo, in which he is betting the clan's secret manual, and promises his parents that he will break their necks for them. In a later scene, the clan's warriors complain of exhaustion. After being tasked with moving very heavy boxes, Jong Cheon arrives and reveals the contents of the boxes, extremely heavy training swords weighing 30, 48, and 66 kilograms, and confirms they are all there. Masuk asks him why he ordered such things that the warriors struggled to carry. Jong Cheon replies with a rhetorical question, "What else is a sword used for?" and then adds, "You swing it." He decides to start with the lightest one, the 30-kilogram sword, but when he tries to lift it, he struggles immensely, barely able to move it. Masuk is shocked at his attempt to swing something so heavy. Jong Cheon feels frustrated, thinking he expected this, but he can't even lift 30 kilograms, and curses his damned body. Jong Cheon continues to try to lift the heavy sword, assuring himself that he can't give up here. With great effort, using both hands, he barely manages to lift it off the ground, panting from exhaustion. He then orders Masuk to stop staring and go do as he was told, which is to add meat to his meals from now on. As time passes, only 15 days remain until the duel. Jong Cheon realizes that his body now possesses the orthodox heavenly constitution, which is the complete opposite of the demonic arts his master instilled in him. This leaves him with only one path, mastering the forms of the 9 swords of solitude, a technique he inherited from his master's close brother. He sees this as his only way to survive. Meanwhile, news of what happened reaches Cheong Daebo, who can't believe that Hua Mujin took out the Bang Ochen gang. His subordinate confirms the news, adding that they will be out of commission for 2 weeks. Daebo wonders what power Hua Mujin used, as he has no internal energy. He then smiles sardonically, commenting that a thoroughbred remains a thoroughbred, and decides they must prepare a gift for the young master Hua. He expresses his excitement for the duel, wanting to see every trick Hua Mujin has up his sleeve. The scene returns to Jong Cheon training rigorously. Cheon continued his harsh training, punching and kicking relentlessly, determined to hone his martial arts. He thinks that a body gifted by the heavens must be able to endure this much hardship. After seeing that Masuk has prepared everything he asked for, he declares that the real training begins now. He begins practicing the first form of the 9 swords of solitude, the blade of advancement, which is based on the principle of always moving forward so that not even Mount Tai would dare stand in its way. He then moves to the second form, the style-shattering blade, its principle being to shatter any weapon it faces. The intense training starts to take a toll on his weak body, but he insists on enduring. He then kicks a ball so hard it ricochets around the area at incredible speed, and practices the third form, the heaven-slicing blade, its principle being that even if the enemy's attack shakes the heavens, it will be split before this sword. As he pants and sweats profusely, he feels a sharp pain in his back, but he screams, demanding to move on to the next form, determined to continue his training no matter the cost. Zhang Cheon continues his training, moving on to the fourth form of the 9 Swords of Solitude, the Blade of Disassembly. Its principle is that no knee can withstand this sword, for even the most complex art has weaknesses and can be cut by the simplest of blades. He failed to hit any of the targets. He becomes frustrated during his training of cutting falling logs, and moves to the fifth form, the Army Slicing Blade, which is based on the principle that even if legions of enemies attack him, they will kneel before this sword, because numbers are meaningless against true power. He continues the grueling training, but one of the logs hits him on the head, and he shouts in anger, demanding to move to the next form. He practices the sixth form, the blade that splits the moon, where he tries to cut candles without extinguishing their flames, with the principle that even the moon will be split in two before this sword. Then he trains in the seventh form, the blade that cleaves the great earth, with the principle that the earth itself opens a path for this sword, and once it is cut, size becomes irrelevant. Zhang Cheon wonders how his body is still intact despite all this effort. He proceeds to the eighth form, the heaven-shattering blade, with the principle that the heavens themselves will be split before it, and that there is nothing in this world it cannot cut. Finally, he reaches the ninth and final form, the blade of final severance, whose philosophy is that after one has cut oneself and one's sword, there is no longer a reason to hold a sword. Zhang Cheon reflects on his training, wondering if what he is doing is just blind imitation. He goes back in his memory to the past, when his master was teaching him the final form. He remembers how he doubted the value of this art, calling it incomplete, and wondering how it deserved to be called a sword art. He found the descriptions of the forms exaggerated and childish, like cutting the earth, the sky, and oneself. His new master didn't deny it, but wondered if his friend's legacy should end like this, and insisted that Zhang Cheon carry it on because he couldn't. He revealed to him that the creator of this art was the only swordsman who could match him. The master explained that the creator of this art had no internal energy and must have used donggong, a style considered a low-level martial art for building strength through physical movement. Zhang Cheon tried to insult the name of the martial art, but the master hit him on the forehead, and then the young Zhang Cheon understood. The master then continued his explanation, saying that repeating the sword movements 1,000 times would bring about a change in his body. 100,000 times would give him a sword aura, and 1,000,000 times would make him invincible in all lands. Zhang Cheon remembers asking his master then if the creator of the art was truly on par with him, and his master replied that he couldn't guarantee it, but if they fought, one of them would surely die. In the present, as Zhang Cheon thinks about the creator of this fascinating art, Masuk calls him worriedly and tries to wake him by slapping his face. After Masuk wakes him from his faint, he expresses his concern because he wasn't waking up. Zhang Cheon jokingly threatens to kill him if he hits him again to wake him up. Zhang Cheon wonders how he fainted after just one set of movements, realizing he has a long way to go. Masuk suggests he have a meal because it's getting late. While eating, Zhang Cheon is surprised to see pork, and Masuk reminds him that he was the one who ordered a meat dish the day before, and tells him to enjoy it because he doesn't remember the last time they had meat. Zhang Cheon orders beef to be prepared from tomorrow onwards, explaining that it's good for building muscle, which shocks Masuk. Zhang Cheon tells him not to worry about the money and to use what they borrowed, insisting he will eat only meat for all 3 of his meals every day until the duel. Masuk asks his young master how long he has been learning such martial arts, and Zhang Cheon answers with a question, asking if it's strange. Zhang Cheon admits that it is, as it's strange for someone who wasn't acting like a normal human to suddenly start practicing martial arts. Masuk adds that it's amazing how he managed to defeat the members of Bango's room with a single chopstick, and now he's learning a terrifying sword art. Zhang Cheon starts to jokingly claim that he is not Hua Mujin, but the divine demon, but Masuk interrupts him, telling him to stop this nonsense. Masuk expresses his real concern, which is that he fears Zhang Cheon might lose his memory again and become a different person, or that he might disappear one day. He worriedly asks him if he is thinking of abandoning the Yumhua clan. Zhang Cheon reassures him, promising that he will never abandon the clan, at least not before it becomes the greatest martial family in Sichuan. Masuk is stunned by this grand goal, so Zhang Cheon hits him on the head and tells him to leave. Zhang Cheon thinks that achieving this goal would also satisfy the spirit of the real Hua Mujin. Meanwhile, the 2 elders discuss the duel that will take place in 10 days. Du Bexin says that Cheong Daibo will surely try to end the young master Hua's life and seize the legacy of the Flame Emperor. Zhou Huanbong suggests they escape before then, arguing that they cannot allow the 2 remaining members of the family to be harmed. Zhang Cheon continues his arduous training. After swinging the sword every day, he has finally succeeded in building some muscle in his arms. He is now able to swing a 66-kilogram iron sword with one hand, but he still wonders why his sword form is still unstable. 1 week before the duel, his 2 younger siblings visit him during his training. He asks them to go and play somewhere else because it's dangerous, but they tell him they are worried about him as they have been watching him strain himself for days. His sister So-yeon asks him if he's doing this because of what she said earlier about him being the cause of their parents' death, and admits she said it because she was very angry at the time. Jung Cheon sighs, thinking that every time he sees these two children, he remembers the other children from his past life. After reassuring his siblings that he is fine, his younger brother Dojin expresses great admiration for his fighting stance and tries to imitate it, while his sister So-yeon corrects his form, saying their brother's arms were more extended. Jung Cheon watches them with a smile, admiring their cuteness as they imitate him. This scene triggers an old memory in him of when he was training with his master in his previous life. He remembers how his master guided him on the correct and important breathing technique for the Doguk-go sword style. A long exhale when swinging the sword, then holding and not rushing, and finally, a slow and brief inhale when returning to the ready stance. Jung Cheon finally realized that the most important part of the Doguk-go sword was not its gleaming edge, but the disciple's breathing technique that brought it to life. And Jung Cheon realizes in the present that he had forgotten these crucial words of his master. He reassures his siblings again, promising them he will win the duel no matter the cost, then asks them to return to their room. After they leave, they wonder worriedly if everything is all right. Jung Cheon returns to his training, this time applying the breathing technique he remembered. A long exhale, holding and not rushing, then a brief inhale. As he practices the fifth form, the slaughter form, he focuses on releasing all the internal energy gathered in his body in a single strike, and succeeds in executing it perfectly. It turns out that Donggong, or moving meditation, is a type of qigong that relies on building internal energy through movement. Unlike other methods, it is classified as a low-level martial art, because it doesn't help much in expanding energy pathways. However, mastering it is not as difficult as he had imagined, as it primarily relies on stable breathing. Jung Cheon realizes that unlike before, when sword training was difficult, synchronizing his breathing with the sword movements has gradually stabilized his body. After repeating the training dozens of times, the scattered energy in his body, which had accumulated over the years, began to slowly condense. Later, Jo Hwanbong asks Masuk if Jung Cheon is continuing his training. Masuk told him about the amazing development, noting that his young master used to collapse constantly before, but now he shows no weakness and has become like a completely different person. Masuk attributes this improvement to the immortal chi treatment he had previously received. But Jo Hwanbong thinks to himself that this is impossible, as no treatment could lead to such a rapid recovery. Jo Hwanbong asks Masuk to let him know if anything urgent happens to them. Masuk agrees and then leaves him in a hurry. As Masuk carries a meal to his young master, he stops in shock at the sight of the training ground completely destroyed, and in its center stands Jung Cheon, with a powerful aura. When Masuk sees the destruction of the training ground, he is stunned and wonders what happened. Jung Cheon complains that the place has become too small to continue training, and announces that he will use the Grand Training Hall from now on. In the Grand Training Hall, where the clan's warriors were training, Jung Cheon arrives and points out the presence of guests. Masuk shyly steps forward and informs the warriors that the young master will be using the hall, which surprises them. Jung Cheon addresses them directly, explaining that he must train alone and needs a lot of space, so he is borrowing the hall and asks them to use another nearby training ground. One of the warriors mocks him, calling him a half-dead corpse and wondering what nonsense he's spouting. He adds that just swinging a sword doesn't make anyone a warrior, especially someone whose blade hasn't been stained with a single drop of blood. Jung Cheon notices the challenging looks in the warrior's eyes, who continues his objection. The captain of the guard, Cheol Boyne, intervenes and orders the warriors to stand down, affirming that the young master Hua is practicing martial arts. But the rebellious warrior mutters that the young master's madness has returned. Jung Cheon stops the guard captain and confronts the warrior directly, telling him to voice his objection to his face instead of muttering like a coward. Cheol Boyne asks what he is suggesting, and Jung Cheon replies that when warriors have disagreements, they settle them by fighting. The captain tries to intervene again, saying that no warrior can draw his sword against the heir of the family. Jung Cheon retorts with a proverb, saying that a true war dog doesn't bark, while a barking dog is a scared one. He then addresses Cheol Boyne, challenging him not to bark if he won't step up to fight and to live cowering like a coward. Cheol Boyne becomes enraged and draws his sword, vowing that Jung Cheon will regret this. Jung Cheon coldly replies that regret is not in his nature. The fight begins, and the warriors are surprised that Jung Cheon is fighting without a sword and with strange movements. Jung Cheon dodges all of his opponent's attacks with ease, which leads the captain to shout for him to stop dodging and face him honorably with his sword. Jung Cheon agrees to this, while the guard captain thinks to himself that it has been 25 years since he joined the Manhwa clan. as the guard captain Cheol Boyne was thinking that the young master Hua was the cause of the clan's downfall and that only now he was starting to talk about martial arts. He yelled at Zhang Cheon that he needed to know his place and attacked him. In response to the attack, Zhang Cheon used the second form of the 9 Swords of Solitude, the extinguishing blow, and easily blocked Cheol Boyne's attack. Boyne was shocked, wondering about this technique that was even able to shake his internal energy. Zhang Cheon admits that everything Boyne said is true, and delivered a powerful uppercut to the guard captain's face. But Zhang Cheon asserts that things will change from now on. Boyne notices that Zhang Cheon's gaze has completely changed from his previous dull look and is now the gaze of a true warrior filled with determination. At that moment, Zhang Cheon defeats the guard captain, amidst the astonishment of the onlookers who wondered how the young master Hua had won. The warriors run to Cheol Boyne worriedly to check on him. Zhang Cheon stands over the defeated Boyne and asks if he has any complaints now. One of the warriors shouts that the fight was dishonorable, claiming that Zhang Cheon knew Boyne couldn't face him seriously. But Boyne yells at him to shut up. Then Boyne gets on his knees and admits his defeat. He tells Zhang Cheon that he has learned something today, and Zhang Cheon orders him to step down, upon which Boyne declares his loyalty. Afterward, the guard captain orders all warriors not to interfere and to move to the side training ground. Zhang Cheon also asks Masuk to leave, to remain alone in the grand training hall. From a distance, one of the warriors asks Boyne why he backed down, but Boyne denies it, insisting that he fought him seriously. The warrior didn't believe him and asked why he retreated during the duel. Boyne questioned the claim of his retreat, strongly denying it, saying, "Who said I retreated? I didn't retreat. I almost killed him." Boyne couldn't understand what had happened to Zhang Cheon to change him so much. Boyne concludes that the young master Hua has gained an opportunity of some sort, and believes that since the young master has changed, things might be all right. On the night before the duel with the Chonghua Merchant Guild, the elders Du Bexin and Zhou Huanbong are talking. One asks the other how many years have passed since they joined the clan, and the other replies that it has been about 37 years. The first elder fondly recalls how Master Yomje from the Huazhou Peak was truly magnificent in the past. Elder Zhou Huanbong remembers how Master Yomje appeared alone and forced even the arrogant Tang clan to acknowledge his martial strength. Then the other elder, Du Bexin, reminds him of the oath they swore to dedicate their lives to him because of the debt they owed him, and Zhou Huanbong accuses him of being about to betray that oath now. Du Bexin denies that this is a betrayal, arguing that the master's lineage and legacy must continue in one way or another. Huanbong reflects on the 17 years they spent caring for the young master Hua's madness while watching the Yumhua clan collapse. He believes that even if they meet Master Yomje in the afterlife, he wouldn't blame them, then asks if everything is ready for their departure. Bexin confirms that there isn't much to prepare, just some gold to settle in a new place, a few warriors, and 4 command plaques. He then asks Huanbong to go ahead of him. Bexin explains that he will stay because, despite everything, the young master Hua is still of that man's lineage, and someone has to take care of his body. He reveals that a master hired by the Chonghua Merchant Guild will attend as a witness to the duel, which Bexin sees as an attempt to legitimize their theft. He knows that these evil people won't even leave a blade of grass behind. He then orders Huanbong to go and wait at the promised place, noting that the 2 little children will be shocked enough as it is. Elsewhere, Zhang Cheon complains that the meat has been tough lately, and Masuk replies that cheap cuts of cattle are always tough. Zhang Cheon asks if they've already run out of money, and Masuk replies that he doesn't know, because the head steward gives them very little to begin with. Masuk asks if he stole the meat, but the other denies being that petty, so Zhang Cheon asks him why he suggested running away and got slapped for it. Meanwhile, Zhang Cheon is getting ready for the duel and asks Masuk for his opinion on his appearance. Masuk honestly replies that he looked better when he was wrapped in bandages. Zhang Cheon ignores the comment and decides it's time to go. As he starts to move, Du Bexin appears and asks if he really plans on going. Zhang Cheon sarcastically asks if he's also here to suggest he run away. Du Bexin denies it, so Zhang Cheon tells him to wait there, because he will defeat those thieves and be back in a flash. Du Bexin insists on going with him. Zhang Cheon finds the whole thing tedious and complains about the excessive worrying of old people, then confidently declares he's going to crush them anyway and orders them to set off.